The galaxy was wide, full of stars, full of worlds, and full of civilizations. Among those civilizations lived the Irions, a gentle race of thinkers and builders. They were not warriors. They were not predators. The Irions were a people who loved harmony, peace, and the quiet order of the stars. For thousands of years, they had built shining cities on their homeworld and stretched small colonies out to nearby planets. Their colonies were never many, for they never sought conquest. Instead, they explored slowly, carefully, always working with one another. Their ships were elegant and quiet, gliding through the void on clean energy. Their leaders believed that violence only brought ruin, so they avoided war and trusted in diplomacy. But the galaxy was not kind to the peaceful. Sometimes the void itself showed no mercy. One cycle, without warning. A cosmic storm began to move across the sector where the Irions lived. It was not a storm like rain or wind. It was something far greater, waves of charged energy that tore through ships, bent magnetic fields, and ripped apart satellites. The Irions had read of such storms in old star records, but no one had seen one for thousands of years. The first colony to be struck was Nire, a moon world where nearly 200,000 Irions lived. One moment its skies were calm, the next, an angry wave of purple light raced across the heavens. Machines failed. Shields collapsed. Entire energy grids went dark. The storm boiled through the atmosphere, tearing apart anything unprotected. A fleet of rescue ships tried to flee with as many civilians as they could. But half of them were lost when their drives collapsed mid-flight. Only a fraction survived, carrying word back to the capital world. The High Council gathered in fear. The storm was not a single wave. It was spreading, moving like a living tide across star systems, consuming everything in its path. Already reports came in from other colonies, ships vanishing, space stations crumbling, communications breaking apart. The Irions did not know war, but they knew despair. The council debated long into the night. Some wanted to close the borders and retreat to their homeworld, hoping the storm would fade before it reached them. Others argued for sending messages to nearby empires, but there was no time. The storm moved too fast. Neighboring species lived far away, and most of them saw the Irions as insignificant. Why would the strong help the weak? Still, one elder suggested something desperate. They had an old long-range transmitter that could send signals beyond normal lanes. It was built for exploration ages ago, but rarely used. Perhaps, if they sent a distress signal, anyone might hear. Many argued it was pointless. Who would risk lives and fleets to save a peaceful people they barely knew? But despair gives courage in strange ways. In the end, they agreed to send the call. The engineers worked quickly, powering the transmitter on the mountain plains of Irioth, their homeworld. The great dish opened toward the stars, humming with energy. The signal was simple, broadcast in every language pattern the Irions had stored. We are the Irions. Our colonies are falling. A cosmic storm destroys us. We cannot resist. Please, if you hear us, help us. The message repeated again and again, cycling across frequencies. It leaped into the void, racing across the galactic arm, crossing cold distances where no ship had flown for centuries. Then, there was nothing left to do but wait. The days that followed were hard. Colonies continued to fall silent. Some ships managed to limp back home, carrying frightened survivors. Cities on the capital world prepared shelters in case the storm reached them. Families prayed. Some believed no one would ever come. Others whispered that perhaps someone stronger might hear, though whether they would help or simply conquer was another question. The High Council sat in silence most nights, staring at the stars. Each passing day, hope grew thinner, but then something strange happened. The long-range receiver picked up a reply. At first it was faint, a garbled whisper. The technicians adjusted settings, cleared distortions, and strengthened the feed. The message grew clearer, spoken in a rough, unfamiliar tongue. It was not elegant like the flowing languages of the core worlds. It was blunt, simple, and carried a tone of urgency. This is Earth. We received your call. Hold on, we are coming. The control room fell silent. For long moments, no one moved. The elders looked at one another, hardly believing what they heard. Earth, someone whispered. What world is that? Few among the Irions had ever studied it. It was a distant planet, far from main trade routes, often ignored in maps. Reports spoke of its people as reckless, loud, and strange. They were newcomers to the stars, having only recently built a network of colonies. Many dismissed them as irrelevant, a species born on a harsh, unstable planet, more known for accidents and stubbornness than for wisdom. Yet here they were, the reply repeated. Stronger this time. This is Earth Command. Distress call received. We will not ignore you. We are dispatching aid fleets immediately. The room filled with murmurs. Confusion, disbelief, hope. The High Council debated. Could these humans truly help? Could they even survive the storm? Their ships were said to be smaller, built for speed and toughness, not for grace. Their culture was rough, their history full of struggle. Some feared that if they came, they might bring more chaos than rescue. But in the end, none of that mattered. They had answered. When no great empire, no mighty fleet, no famous power had lifted a finger, these humans had responded within days. The Irions had no choice but to trust. Meanwhile, on Earth, the message had spread across the planet's networks. Humanity had always dreamed of reaching further into the stars, of proving themselves among ancient empires. Now, a chance had come not through conquest, not through trade, but through a call for help. Leaders gathered. Scientists studied the data. The storm was dangerous, yes, but humans had lived through danger since the dawn of their history. To them, hardship was not strange, it was natural. Earth itself was a place of quakes, storms, predators, and fire. Its people had risen not by avoiding struggle, but by surviving it. The debate did not last long. There was no thought of ignoring the signal. It was not in human nature. Within days, fleets were prepared. Not the largest fleets of the galaxy, not the most advanced, but fast, stubborn, and ready. Crews volunteered in numbers greater than needed. Engineers worked without rest, fitting ships with shielding to withstand storm surges. Families said their goodbyes as the first wave of ships launched into the void. On Earth, people watched the skies with pride. Far away, a gentle race waited, hoping for salvation. And humanity? Deathworlders, from a stormy planet, had chosen to answer. Back on Erionth, the Arians received another message. This is Captain Reyes, of the Terran Alliance. Hold strong. We will not let you fall. The word spread across the cities like fire. For the first time in weeks, songs rose in the streets. Children laughed again. The hopeless felt courage. Even if these humans were not enough to save them, the fact that they came at all meant something greater. They were not alone in the galaxy. And so part one ended not with despair, but with a spark of hope. A fragile people had cried into the darkness. They had expected silence. Instead, the most unlikely of allies had answered the Deathworlders. The storm had not yet reached Irioth, the Irion homeworld, but its shadow already hung heavy over the skies. Whole cities lived in fear of the purple waves that destroyed colonies one after another. Every day, fresh refugees arrived with stories of wreckage and loss. The people waited for the storm to arrive, and with it, their end. But now, a new whisper moved through the streets. Carried from the highest towers to the deepest caverns, the humans are coming. Most Irions had never seen a human. The few records available spoke of them as unpredictable, loud, and reckless. Scholars described Earth as a death world, a world too harsh for fragile life, yet somehow life there had survived. Earth was full of storms, predators, earthquakes, volcanoes, deserts, freezing lands, and oceans that swallowed ships whole. And yet from this chaos, the humans had risen. The idea made the Irions both hopeful and uneasy. If humans could live on such a world, perhaps they truly could withstand the cosmic storm. But what kind of people would come out of a world like that? Would they be saviors or destroyers? The arrival it was a clear night when the first human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel above Erith. Great lights flared in the sky, brighter than any star. Thousands of Arians left their homes to watch, their eyes fixed on the heavens. The human ships were unlike the smooth, elegant craft of the Arians. These vessels were angular, armored, and heavy, with dark hulls marked by stripes of bright colors. They looked more like weapons than transports, as if built to fight the universe itself. The largest ship in the fleet, the Taz Resolute, took position above the capital. From its surface, a dozen smaller craft detached, streaking through the atmosphere like falling stars. The Arians trembled as the air thundered with their descent. Yet, when the ships landed, no weapons fired. Instead, their doors opened and the humans stepped out. The crowd gasped. Humans were tall, with broad shoulders, and moved with a strange confidence. Their skin came in many shades, their eyes sharp, their movements restless. They wore uniforms of dark blue with the crest of a star and a circle on the chest. At the front walked a woman with dark hair tied back, her expression calm but firm. She was Captain Reyes, the one who had spoken over the transmissions. Flanked by officers, she stepped forward to greet the High Council of Irians, who waited nervously at the landing site. The Irian leader, Elder Thalon, bowed his head politely. "We welcome you to Erath." "We are surprised that you came," Captain Reyes gave a small smile. "We heard your call." That was enough. The words were simple, but they struck deep. To the Irians, who had expected indifference from the galaxy, this answer carried more weight than 1,000 speeches. First impressions, the humans immediately began their work. They set up mobile command centers, deployed drones to scan the storm's approach, and prepared ships for evacuation if needed. Their energy was fast, direct, and focused. The Arians watched with wide eyes. Humans climbed towers without hesitation, walked into dangerous zones with protective suits, and worked tirelessly without pause. They argued with one another loudly, but somehow those arguments always ended in solutions. To the calm, slow-moving Irians, it was almost frightening. Yet, the results were undeniable. In only 2 days, the humans built storm shelters more durable than anything the Irians had created. They reinforced power grids, set up emergency communication lines, and organized the scattered refugees into safe zones. One Irian child asked his mother, "Why do they move so fast?" The mother answered softly, "Perhaps because their world taught them they must." The test in the 3rd day, the storm flared again. Not yet at Erath, but close enough to strike a nearby moonbase, where thousands of Irian refugees were hiding. The council begged Captain Reyes not to risk her ships. "The storm eats fleets," Elder Thalon warned. "If you go, you will lose everything." But Reyes only shook her head. "We didn't come to watch you die. We came to fight for you." She ordered 2 human cruisers and a squadron of smaller ships to launch immediately. The Irians crowded around holoscreens, watching the live feed as the human fleet entered the storm zone. The cosmic storm was a nightmare of light and fire. Energy waves twisted through space, ripping apart asteroids and boiling plasma fields. Even through the cameras, it looked impossible to survive. Yet the humans plunged straight into it. Their ships shook violently, alarms blaring. Lightning-like arcs of energy clawed at the hulls. Shields flickered. The Arians covered their faces, certain they would watch their only hope vanish. But then they saw the humans adapt. Instead of resisting the storm with brute power, the human pilots danced with it. They adjusted angles, let the energy waves slide past their hulls, and used bursts of thrusters at the perfect moments. They did not fight the storm, they flowed with it. One ship took a direct hit and spun out of control. Gasps filled the Irian chamber. But before the ship could vanish, 2 others darted in, catching it with grappling beams and pulling it back into formation. The fleet continued forward, never leaving one another behind. When they reached the moon base, humans deployed emergency shuttles, braving the storm again and again to pull refugees aboard. They lost no one. Hours later, when the fleet returned, battered but alive, The Irions cheered across every city. For the first time, hope felt real. Culture shocks the days passed. Irions and humans began to learn about one another. The Irions shared their libraries, their music, and their art. Humans shared their stories of exploration, their technology of survival, and their strange traditions. The Irions were startled by human humor jokes told even in the darkest times. They were baffled by how humans argued with leaders openly, yet still followed orders when it mattered. They were moved by the way humans treated even strangers like family once trust was earned. Captain Reyes explained to Elder Thalen one evening, "On Earth, danger is everywhere. We learned long ago that the only way to survive is together. No one stands alone." The elder nodded slowly. "Perhaps that is the lesson we have forgotten. We built peace, but peace made us soft." The humans did not judge. They only promised to stand with the Irions, no matter what came. A shadow on the horizon yet. Not all threats came from storms. Scouts reported that another species had entered the region, the Verith, scavengers who fed on disaster. They followed storms and wars, striking at the weakest to steal resources and slaves. The Irions had feared them for centuries, always staying out of their path. Now, with the Irion colonies broken and the storm still raging, the Verith saw opportunity. They began gathering at the edge of the sector. The Irions panicked. "We cannot face them," the council cried. The storm was enough. "If they attack, we are finished." But Captain Reyes only tightened her jaw. "Then it's good we're here," she said. "Because humans don't run from bullies." Her words spread quickly. To the Irions, it sounded like madness. To the humans, it was simple truth. And so, while the storm still roared and the enemy gathered in the dark, the humans stood ready. The Irions had sent a distress call into the void, expecting silence. Instead, the Deathworlders had arrived, unafraid of storm or predator, and as Elder Thalen watched the humans work late into the night, he whispered to himself, "Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated these strange children of Earth." The stage was set. The storm was not over, and the predators were coming. But the Irions were no longer alone. Humanity had come into the galaxy, would soon learn what that meant. The storm had been the first terror, but now another shadow grew across the stars. The Verith had come. The Irions had long whispered of the Verith. They were not builders like the Irions, nor survivors like the humans. They were predators of civilization. They waited for weakness. When empires stumbled, when worlds were broken by disaster, the Verith descended like scavengers. They stole resources, enslaved populations, and left ruins behind. Now they saw the Irions as prey. The storm had already shattered colonies, left fleets in pieces, and scattered refugees. To the Verith, this was the perfect hunt, but what they had not expected was humanity. The first signs, on the edge of the Irion system, human scouts detected movement. Strange ships moved in the dark, hiding behind asteroids, watching the survivors. Their signatures matched old records of the Verith. Captain Reyes stood in the command center of the Resolute. Around her, human officers studied the data. Screens glowed with red dots, showing enemy ships slowly gathering. "They're waiting," Reyes said calmly. "Waiting for the storm to weaken us further? They'll strike once they believe we are exhausted." Her second officer, Lieutenant Park, frowned. "The Irions have no defense fleet left. If they attack, it'll be slaughter." Reyes nodded. "Then we won't wait for them to decide. We'll meet them on our terms." Fear among the Irons when news reached the High Council. Panic spread. "We cannot fight the Verith," Elder Thalen said in despair. "They are ruthless. Even our colonies that survived storms never resisted them. We have no warriors, no weapons, strong enough. If they come, we are doomed." Reyes stood before the council, her posture firm. "You are not alone anymore. Humanity will fight with you." The chamber fell silent. The Irions stared in disbelief. Elder Sale, the youngest of the council, asked softly, "But why?" "We are not your people. If you fight, you may lose everything. Why risk so much for strangers?" Reyes looked around the chamber, her eyes steady. "Because you asked for help. Because someone had to answer. On Earth, we learned a lesson long ago. When danger comes, we don't survive by turning away. We survive by standing together. That is what it means to be human. The Irions had no answer. They only watched as the humans prepared for war. First skirmish, the Vareth tested the humans with a small raid. A squadron of their sharp black ships darted into the outer colonies, striking at fleeing refugees. But the humans were waiting. The Resolute launched 2 destroyers and 4 frigates to intercept. The battle was quick, but fierce. The Vareth expected fear. Instead, they met fire. Human ships surged forward, maneuvering with reckless bravery, diving through storms of plasma fire. One human frigate took heavy damage. Instead of retreating, it rammed an enemy vessel head-on, tearing both ships apart. To the Irions, who watched through the transmission feed, this was unthinkable. The idea of sacrificing oneself willingly was alien to them. The Vareth retreated, leaving wreckage behind. For the first time, the Predators felt doubt. Humanity's struggle, but victory came with cost. The humans were not an empire of endless fleets. Their resources were thin, their numbers limited. Every ship lost hurt them deeply. Reyes gathered her crew. "We are Deathworlders," she reminded them. "We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. The Vareth think we will break. They don't understand hardship makes us stronger. Every storm we face, every battle we fight, we learn. We endure. That is why we will win." Her words spread among the humans, carried in messages, in late-night talks, in quiet promises to each other. They were tired, they were afraid, but they refused to quit. The breaking point, the storm reached its peak one dreadful night. Purple waves of energy tore across the system, knocking out half the communications. At the same time, the Vareth launched their largest assault yet. Dozens of warships appeared, descending upon the Irion homeworld. Their fleets outnumbered the humans 3-1. The Irions gathered in shelters, trembling. They believed this was the end. Even the council whispered in despair, but the humans did not surrender. The Resolute led the defense, its guns blazing. Human destroyers darted through enemy formations, laying traps, detonating charges among the asteroids. Pilots flew until their ships nearly burned apart, refusing to leave their posts. Still, the weight of numbers pressed hard. One by one, human ships were struck, some exploding in fiery bursts, others limping away with heavy damage. On the ground, Captain Reyes spoke to the Irian leaders through the storm of battle. Her voice was steady, though behind her the command center shook. "You asked why we fight for you," she said. "This is why. Not because you are strong, but because you need us. On Earth, we learn that strength isn't just claws or weapons. Strength is refusing to let others fall when you can help them stand. That is what we are." The council listened in silence, tears in their eyes. A new fire inspired. Some Irions began to act. The first time in their history, they did not hide. Engineers rushed to assist human crews. Civilians worked side by side with soldiers, carrying supplies, repairing shields, and guiding refugees to safety. The humans noticed. A spark of respect grew between the two species. Lieutenant Park remarked to Reyes, "They're not soldiers, but they're learning. They're finding courage." Reyes gave a rare smile. That's humanity's gift. Courage spreads. Hope spreads. That's how we change the galaxy. Wow. The price of defiance, the battle raged for hours. Human fleets pushed the Vareth back, but at terrible cost. The Resolute took direct fire, its shields failing. Another destroyer sacrificed itself to protect a refugee convoy. By dawn, a third of the human fleet was gone. The Irions wept at the losses. But to their amazement, the humans did not despair. They mourned their dead and turned back to their work with grim determination. Captain Reyes stood before her surviving officers. Her uniform was torn, her voice hoarse, but her eyes burned with the fire of a Deathworlder. "They think we've reached our limit," she said, "but they don't know us. On Earth, limits were something we learned to break. We will fight until the last ship, the last breath, if that's what it takes. And I promise you this, we will not let Ereth fall." The officers answered as one. "Aye, Captain." Turning of the storm, something began to change. The Irions, once hopeless, now felt a strange fire in their hearts. Watching the humans bleed, suffer, and still rise again awakened something new in them. For the first time, they wondered if perhaps strength was not what they thought it was. Not dominance, not conquest, but endurance, willpower, the refusal to surrender. The storm still raged. The Vareth still prowled. Humanity had lost much and stood close to breaking. Yet their spirit blazed brighter than ever. The galaxy's predators had underestimated them. The Deathworlders had come, and the battle was far from over. The storm that had shaken the galaxy finally began to weaken. Its waves of violent energy grew softer, its light fading in the distance. Yet even as the heavens calmed, war still burned across the stars. The Vareth were relentless. Their black ships circled the Irion homeworld like vultures. They believed their victory was near. The humans had fought fiercely, but their fleet was bleeding. Many ships were gone. Many soldiers had fallen. The Vareth were sure that time itself would crush the Deathworlders, but they were wrong. The human spirit turned the resolute. Captain Reyes stood at the bridge, her hands resting firmly on the table of glowing star charts. Her crew was exhausted. Their uniforms were torn, their eyes red with sleepless nights. Yet not a single one asked for retreat. Reyes looked at them and spoke with quiet strength. "We are few. We are scarred. But we are not broken. Remember who we are? We are the children of a world that tried to kill us every day. Earth's storms, its deserts, its burning skies, they all shaped us. The Vareth think war will crush us. Let them learn the truth. War is where we rise." The officers straightened. Weariness still lay heavy on them. But fire lit their eyes once more. The Arions began to change in the underground cities of Irions. Huddled, they had never fought wars of their own. For centuries they believed survival came from hiding, from avoiding danger. But watching the humans fight stirred something inside them. Young Irions volunteered to help. Engineers joined repair crews. Scientists studied human technology and offered new ways to boost shields. Farmers brought food for the soldiers. Even children carried supplies. Elder Sale, the youngest council member, stood among them. For generations we told ourselves that weakness was our fate. But the humans have shown us something different. Strength is not only claws and weapons. Strength is standing when you wish to fall. We must stand with them now, or we will never stand at all. The Irions, for the first time in their history, began to prepare for battle. The Vareth grew impatient. Their commander ordered a full strike. Hundreds of sleek warships surged toward the planet. Their plan was simple: overwhelm the humans, scatter the defenses, and descend upon the world like predators on prey. The skies above Irith turned into fire. Plasma beams carved the darkness. Missiles screamed through space. The ground itself shook as debris rained from the heavens. Human ships darted between giants, fighting with reckless courage. They could not match numbers, so they relied on cunning. Frigates hid in asteroid fields, striking from shadows. Destroyers laid traps that detonated at the perfect moment, ripping apart larger enemy ships everywhere. The humans fought with a fury the Irions could scarcely believe. Sacrifice in the thick of battle. One Irion colony ship found itself trapped. It carried thousands of refugees. A Vareth cruiser locked its weapons on them. The refugees screamed in fear, for they had no defenses. But a single human corvette moved between them. Its shields flickered weakly, already half destroyed. The human captain gave no order to retreat. Instead, the corvette opened fire at point-blank range. Its guns blazed until the ship tore itself apart, exploding in a fiery storm that dragged the enemy cruiser with it. The refugees lived. The Irions who witnessed this sacrifice were stunned. Their voices trembled as they spoke. They gave their lives for strangers. It was a truth that struck deep. Unity in the fire the humans could not win alone. They needed the Irions to act. And finally, the Irions did. Irion engineers rushed to modify ground-based telescopes into crude targeting systems. With human guidance, they turned them into makeshift defense cannons. Farmers abandoned the fields to power generators for shields. Civilians used old cargo drones to carry supplies into orbit. It was clumsy, was desperate, but it mattered. Reyes watched as reports arrived. "The Irions are fighting back," she whispered. A faint smile touched her face. "Good. Let the Verith see this. Let them see that hope is contagious." A desperate plan still, the humans knew the battle could not be won by defense alone. If the Verith were allowed to regroup, they would bring reinforcements from across the sector. Humanity and the Irions would both be lost. Reyes called her officers together. "We can't match them ship for ship, but we can cut off their throat. Their command vessel coordinates the entire fleet. If it falls, the rest will scatter." Lieutenant Park frowned. "That ship is massive, heavily armored. To reach it, we'd have to break through their strongest defenses." Reyes nodded grimly. "Then that's exactly what we'll do." The assault begins. The humans launch their bold strike. The Resolute led the charge, plunging into the heart of the Verith fleet. Enemy ships swarmed them, firing from all sides. Human frigates peeled away, drawing fire, sacrificing themselves so the main force could push forward. The Irions, inspired, joined the assault in their own way. Civilian ships, unarmed and fragile, flew close to the humans, carrying shield projectors and repair drones. They risked their lives to keep the fleet alive. Together, they pushed through. The Verith flagship loomed ahead, a dark giant bristling with weapons. Its presence radiated menace. To the Irions, it seemed like a god of war, but to the humans, it was just another challenge to overcome. The final push, the battle turned into chaos. Explosions tore the sky. Wreckage drifted everywhere. The Resolute shook under heavy fire. Sparks rained from the ceiling. "Shields down to 20%, shouted Park. "Hold course," Reyes ordered, gripping the railing. "All weapons, fire." Missiles streaked across space, slamming into the flagship's hull. Plasma tore through its armor, but the giant did not fall. It struck back, ripping through to human destroyers. At that moment, Elder Sail made a choice. From the ground, he ordered the Irion defense stations to focus everything on the flagship. Crude cannons, improvised turrets, even mining lasers all fired into the sky together. The flagship staggered under the combined assault. Reyes saw the opening. This is it. For Earth. For Eroth. All ships, strike now. The Resolute surged forward, its engines screaming. It unleashed every missile, every torpedo, every last shot of plasma. The other human ships did the same. The flagship's shield shattered. Its hull split apart. With a thunderous explosion, the Verith command vessel tore open. Burning into the void, the retreat the moment their command ship fell, the Verith fleet faltered. Their formations collapsed. Confusion spread among their ranks. One by one, their ships turned and fled into the dark. Retreating from the Deathworlders they had underestimated, for the first time in history, the Verith had been defeated in open battle. Cheers erupted across the Aryan world. In shelters, civilians wept and shouted with joy. On human ships, weary crews embraced one another. For a moment, victory tasted real. Aftermath, the battlefield was silent now, filled only with drifting wreckage. Human ships limped back to orbit, scarred and broken. Many would never fly again. The Irions rushed to help, sending every drone and worker they had to recover survivors. In the council hall, Elder Sail addressed both peoples. His voice shook with emotion. Today, we have seen what it means to stand. The Verith thought us weak. They thought humanity small, but together we proved them wrong. This victory is not only for Erath or for Earth, it is a message to the stars. Hope can fight back. Captain Reyes, though exhausted, stood beside him. Her eyes were firm. This war is not over. The Verith will return. But next time, they will not find a broken people. They will find allies who refuse to yield. That is our promise. A new alliance from that day forward, The humans and Irions began to rebuild not separately, but side by side. The Irions offered their knowledge of energy and science. The humans shared their strategies and courage. Factories that once built farming machines now constructed defenses. Schools that once taught only peace now also taught resilience. And at the center of it all was a new Bondan alliance, forged not in treaties, but in sacrifice. The storm was ending. The stars were clearing, but everyone knew new battles were coming. The Vareth would not forgive their defeat. Yet for the first time, the galaxy was changing. The Deathworlders had come, and the Irions had risen beside them. Together, they would face whatever came next. The galaxy watched in quiet tension. The storm had faded, leaving Irith and its people in relative calm. But peace was a fragile illusion. Far beyond the system, the Vareth were gathering. They were furious. Not only had their command ship been destroyed, but their pride had been shattered. Their fleet had fled. But their hunger for revenge burned hotter than ever. Captain Reyes studied the fleet reports aboard the Resolute. Hundreds of Vareth ships were moving in from nearby sectors. Their weapons were stronger than before. Their numbers would crush anyone who stood in their path. But humanity was not afraid. They had learned a lesson on Erath. Numbers and power could be beaten by courage, by cunning, by determination. And now, they were not alone. The Irions had joined fully, learning quickly how to fight and support in ways their species had never imagined. Reyes turned to her officers. "This is it," she said. "The Vareth think they can destroy hope. They are wrong. Today we fight not just for Erith, not just for Earth, but for every world that believes it has no protector. Stand strong. Fight together. Survive. That is our duty." Her officers nodded. Every eye on the bridge was focused, every hand ready, preparing the defense on Eroth. Every citizen contributed. Engineers fortified shelters with energy barriers, using both Irion and human technology. Civilians helped build emergency stations, carried supplies to the orbiting fleet, and even helped repair damaged human ships. Young Arians volunteered to man energy turrets. Learning quickly under human guidance, Elder Sale watched proudly. "Our people thought we were fragile," he told his council. "But we were only waiting for a reason to rise. That reason has come." Above them, human fleets formed intricate patterns, using the terrain of the system, the asteroid belts, the moons, and even the fading storm clouds to hide their numbers and confuse the Vareth. They had studied the enemy's behavior. They knew the Vareth relied on strength and aggression, assuming that fear would win battles before they even began. Now, the Deathworlders planned to teach them a different lesson. The Vareth returned the first signs, appeared as blurs against the dark void, hundreds of black ships converging on Eroth. They moved fast, cutting through space with deadly precision. From a distance, their fleet seemed invincible. The Vareth commander, a massive creature with sharp instincts honed over centuries of conquest, believed victory was certain. "The humans are few," he hissed to his lieutenants. "The Irions are weak. This world falls today. Nothing will stop us." But even as he spoke, his sensors picked up subtle movements he did not understand. Small, fast ships darting unpredictably. Energy pulses timed perfectly. Lines of light that seemed too coordinated for chance. The Vareth did not know it yet. But the fight they expected would be easy would instead test them in ways no predator had ever faced. First contact. The battle begins. The humans struck first. Small strike teams darted out from behind asteroids, ambushing Vareth scouts. Each attack was precise. Each move coordinated with ground defenses and Irion support. Missiles flew, energy beams cut through darkness, and the Vareth were forced to respond instead of attack. From Irith's surface, civilians and soldiers watched. For the first time, they saw the humans in full command of a battle. Their movements were fierce, but intelligent. They did not fight blindly. They adapted to every strike. A young Irion named Kale whispered to his sister, "They are fearless," his sister nodded. "And they never stop helping others, even in danger." Humanity's ingenuity. Captain Reyes directed the fleet like a conductor leading an orchestra. Each human ship had a role. Some drew fire, some attacked with plasma, others carried shield generators to protect the Irions. The Verith were surprised. Their attacks were countered with traps they could not predict. Their fleet formations were broken by humans who seemed to anticipate their every move. Reyes. Their command vessel is in range, Lieutenant Park reported. Good, Reyes said. We finish this today. She ordered a coordinated strike with Irion energy turrets supporting the human fleet. Missiles streaked through space, energy beams fired from both ships and ground installations. The Verith flagship, the last center of their command, shuddered under the combined attack. The Irions stepped forward. The Irions had learned courage, but they had also learned strategy. Using human guidance, they launched their own countermeasures. Energy fields redirected attacks, false targets confused the Verith sensors, and small strike crafts from the ground hit the enemy from unexpected angles. The Verith, who had expected easy prey, were now facing a people who refused to run. A species that had survived storms, war, and now impossible odds. Elder Sail watched the battle unfold. They are not gods, he said. They are humans, and we are standing with them. That is why they falter. Sacrifice encouraged the Verith, tried one last desperate strike. Their warships dived toward Ereth, targeting human ships and Irion shelters alike. One massive cruiser was headed straight for a refugee zone. Without hesitation, a human frigate sped forward to intercept. Its shields failed almost immediately under the attack, sparks flying across the hull. But the crew refused to leave. They rammed the Verith cruiser, striking at weak points, and finally blew it apart in a flash of fire. Irions on the surface watched in awe. These were creatures from a harsh, stormy world who risked death willingly to protect strangers. Kale, the young Arion whispered, they are like the storms at home. Fierce, unstoppable, and impossible to ignore. The final assault with morale high and strategy clear, the humans launched their final assault. Captain Reyes led the Resolute directly at the Verith command ship. Surrounding her, human frigates and destroyers struck from all sides. Drawing attention away from the flagship, Irions assisted with energy beams, carefully aimed plasma strikes, and defensive screens. Every action was coordinated. Every shot mattered. The Verith flagship tried to escape, but it was trapped. A massive Irion energy net slowed its engines, while human missiles struck critical systems. The ship shuddered, then exploded in a brilliant fireball. The remaining Verith fleet, leaderless and confused, scattered into the darkness. Their attacks ceased. They had lost the battle they thought was certain. Victory silence fell over the battlefield. Fires and debris floated through orbit, but the living remained. Humans and Irions alike watched the void, breathing in relief. Captain Reyes addressed the fleet. We have won today, not because we are the strongest in numbers, but because we refuse to fall. Remember this. Let the galaxy see that courage, unity, and determination can defeat even the most feared predators. The Irions cheered, their voices joining the humans in celebration. The alliance was no longer fragile, it was permanent. They had fought side by side and together. They had changed the course of history. A changed galaxy word spread quickly across nearby systems. The Verith, once feared as unstoppable hunters, had been humbled. News of Earth's humans traveling to aid the Irions shocked the galaxy. Rumors circulated that a species from a storm-tossed world had stood up to the deadliest predators and won. Elder Sail stood on Aria's highest tower, gazing at the stars. The humans are remarkable, he said, not because of power or numbers, but because of spirit. We have learned that strength is not what we thought. It is courage, resilience, and the will to stand with others when all seems lost. Captain Reyes joined him. The galaxy often forgets the quiet lessons of survival. But humanity remembers. We will continue to protect, to fight, and to stand beside those who need us. That is our legacy. The Irion smiled. Together, they had survived storms, enemies, and despair. Humanity had shown them a new way forward, and somewhere far across the galaxy, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if acknowledging a new truth: the Deathworlders had come, and the galaxy would never forget. Epilogue: the Irions began rebuilding their colonies with human help. They repaired ships, reinforced cities, and strengthened communication networks. Children learned the stories of bravery and sacrifice. Scientists shared technology and knowledge. Blending the Irian and human ways, the humans returned home, their ships battered but spirits unbroken. They had come for strangers and left allies. They had faced the most feared species in the galaxy and survived. In time, the story spread from system to system. The Irions sent a distress call. Humanity answered, and the galaxy was never the same. From that day forward, wherever humans traveled among the stars, other species watched carefully. They had learned an important lesson: courage, ingenuity, and unity could make even the smallest world's people a force no predator could ignore. The galaxy had been changed forever,